Good afternoon, everybody. Dominic here from Body, Mind, Fitness, coming at you on a very cold and dreary day. It's been raining all day, and I definitely feel like it impacts my mood a little bit. So I'm popping on here to answer another message that got sent to me via DM through Instagram, and that is on intuitive eating. And I've mentioned it a few times, and already, as soon as I was going to press play, I was going to veer completely off my notes and start talking about other things, only to realize that this topic really just scratches the surface, and without it being too overwhelming, I'm just going to stick to my notes. So just a little disclaimer before I do get started is that the topics discussed here are for informational and educational purposes only and are not a substitute from the advice from your medical or mental health providers. So what is intuitive eating? So the first thing I'd like to touch base on a little bit is just what is the the basic definition of intuitive eating. So an intuitive eater is defined as a person who makes food choices without experiencing guilt or any ethical dilemmas. They honor their hunger, they respect their fullness, and they enjoy the pleasure of eating. So there are a lot of times that intuitive eating gets mistaken for the idea that, well, you can just go eat anything, and that's not really what it is. I'm still on my own journey to discovering intuitive eating myself, and it also often gets the label. There are certain diets out there that often label their diets as intuitive eating when really it's just another diet, and we'll get a little bit more into that as I go through my list of my talking points and the 10 principles of intuitive eating. So this actually comes from the book Intuitive Eating. And if you're interested to find out more information, or if any of this kind of strikes your fancy, definitely let me know, and I will give you some more resources to look into. But again, this is just really scratching the surface. So the number one principle of intuitive eating is to reject the diet mentality, which is really, really hard. When there's so much out there that is dictating how we should be eating and how we should be feeling about our bodies. So the basic idea is throw out the diet books, unfollow social media accounts that give you any kind of false hope of a quick, easy, and permanent weight loss. Understanding that diets are made to fail. Which is why it's such a multi-billion-dollar industry, and that gaining more weight than you lost is very, very common when you're on diets, and it isn't your fault. Discovering the freedom of intuitive eating will be hindered if you maintain even the smallest idea that you will lose weight using intuitive eating, or that there could still be a better diet out there for you. So again, just knowing that diets are made to give you quick results fast, and the longer you participate in different kinds of diets, the less of those quick results you're going to see, and in the long run, the more weight you're going to gain than you originally even wanted to had taken off. So just kind of keeping that in mind. The second principle of intuitive eating is to honor your hunger. So feed your body when you are hungry. Sorry, I keep glancing down because I really want to stay on my notes here. So feed yourself when you're hungry, because your body needs energy and carbs. And if you don't kind of feed yourself when you're hungry, this may trigger a primal drive to overeat once food becomes accessible to you. So when you get really, really hungry, listening to your internal cues can be difficult. And that's when you start to binge eat. So feeding yourself as soon as you start to feel a little bit of hunger, honoring that feeling, and learning to listen to that first signal is key to rebuilding trust with food and trust with yourself. And even knowing that when we start to get hungry, our body starts to feed off of our internal resources. And when that happens, our body wants to not only take in what it needs, but take in enough to replenish. And it has this natural ability as well to take in even more than that to prepare yourself for the next time that you may experience a famine, which sounds a little bit like an overstatement, considering we're talking about just, prolonging a bit of food, but it is something to keep in mind as well. Number 3 principle is to make peace with food. Ditch the idea that there are forbidden foods or bad foods. There is no such thing. This mentality can leave you feeling super deprived and developing these uncontrollable cravings, because as soon as you label something as a do not touch item, what do you want to do? You want to go and touch it. It's in our blood. It's in our DNA. Even as I know my toddler, as soon as I tell her not to do something, guess what is the only thing she wants to do is go mess around with that particular thing that she is not supposed to touch. So, yes, making peace with food. And eventually, what happens when we label something as forbidden or bad is we go into this binging cycle, which is known as the Last Supper mentality. And the idea behind the Last Supper mentality, to put it very shortly, is you eat as much of it as you can, because in your mind you're thinking, this is the last time I will ever eat this item ever again. So you tend to overeat that item, and then you kind of feel like crap afterwards. The next one is challenge the food police. So shut down any thoughts of you were good, so you deserve this, or you were bad, so you really need to do this instead. Who made these rules? Seriously, who made them? The food police monitor unreasonable rules that diet culture has created, and it is ingrained deep in our psyche. So again, challenging the food police. Who said that this thing is good? Who said that this thing is bad? And who says that because you indulged in this makes you good or bad or otherwise? So again, number 4, challenge the food police. Number 5 is feeling your fullness. Now, this one takes a lot of practice. Listening to those internal signals that you are no longer hungry. And what you are looking for is the feeling of comfortably full. So pause mid-meal or snack and ask how your food tastes and what your current level of fullness is. And sometimes it takes time for the brain to catch up with the body, especially if we're eating really, really quickly. So feeling your fullness, not to an extreme situation either, where you're like, oh, I'm just not hungry now. Again, if you are in diet culture, if you are in a situation of I lost my train of thought. I'm losing the word right now. But if you are currently in a situation of disordered eating, a lot of these things are not going to land the way they should in your body. So make sure you talk to a nutritionist, or especially a nutritionist who specializes in intuitive eating will be super helpful. So feeling your fullness. Number 6 is discovering the satisfaction factor. So pleasure should be a goal of healthy living. In our quest to be thin and healthy, the pleasure and satisfaction of the eating experience can get really, really lost. Eating what you want, when you want, in an inviting environment is where you'll experience pleasure, feeling satisfied and content. And with time, you will see it requires much less food to feel like you've had enough. So again, these are all things that need to be worked on. I'm somewhere along the line of 5, 6 right now on my own journey. So I'm taking my time, and I'm making sure that, I take the time in each step so that everything eventually lands the way it should. Because this is something I hugely prescribe by, or subscribe by, stand by. We'll go with that word. And it makes sense to me. And maybe at this particular point in time, it doesn't completely make sense. And that's okay too. Just seeing, it'll be there when you're ready. This has been around since the 90s. But again, not a diet. It's just, it's not a diet, and it's not a lifestyle, which is kind of the new code word for diet. This is really giving you the ability to experience all ranges of food at any time, as long as you are kind of listening to what you need at those given times. Number 7 is coping with your emotions without using food. So finding ways to distract, comfort, and nurture without using food necessarily. So we experience anxiety, anger, loneliness, boredom, all kinds of different reasons at various points in life where we turn to food to fill those needs that are in our life. So food isn't going to fix any of those things: boredom, loneliness, anger, anxiety. It just won't. It will comfort you for a short period of time, and it will distract you, but it won't fix those situations. So you need to deal with the root of these issues, and you need to go about that in ways that are going to support you. So whether that's seeking somebody to talk to, speaking of which, if you are a family doctor as part of a family medical team, I think it's called, you do get like 10 free therapy sessions, which I learned when I didn't have insurance. So super helpful information. No, family health team. Yeah. So, that may be a way to turn, or a place to turn to, if you don't have insurance and you kind of just need to talk to somebody about things. Number 8 is respect your body. Just like we all have different size feet. And if you have been listening to any of my spiels where intuitive eating comes in, I always use this analogy. And I actually just recently saw this analogy written by somebody else. So maybe I stole it from somebody, but I don't think I did. So just like we all have different size feet, all our bodies are meant to be different. It's genetics. There is somebody who at a healthy size could, looks a certain way, and somebody else who's also equally healthy is going to look another way. So respect the size you are so you can feel better about who you are. It's hard to reject the diet mentality if you are unrealistic and critical of your body's natural shape. Like, seriously, I remember at one point somebody saying to me, like, I wish you could see yourself the way I see you. And I'm sure it was a family member or a loved one of some kind. And it was at a time when things were very disordered for me. And I want you to know that I see people, women, men of all shapes and sizes, who are just amazing. I don't want to sound creepy and be like amazing to look at, but I've seen people of all shapes and sizes that are beautiful, handsome. And again, I wish for you that you could see yourself the way I see you. I'll move on from that before I start to sound like super creepy or something. But really just respecting your body is where it's at. We are not all meant to have the same ratio hips to waist to chest, or have the exact same shape body. And when we strive for those things, things can get super disordered. And it's not a place I would want any of my loved ones to be, and or anyone I care about in any way. So treat yourself like someone you care about. That's kind of key. That's kind of what I live by at this point in time. Number nine, we're almost there. 10 principles. Number 9 is exercise. Feel the difference. So stop punishing your body with grueling exercise and just move. Get active and focus how it feels to move your body, rather than how many calories you'll burn. I'm at that point in my life where I just move. I try to find ways every day if I can to just move in some ways, because it feels good. On days that I don't move, like, I get these really terrible back pains getting out of bed in the morning. Like, they're really, really bad. But I don't get them on days where I just move for the sake of moving. And that includes everything from lifting weights. Cardio is not really my thing, so I'm kind of shying away from that right now, unless it involves like a burn phase with weights in my hands. I'm okay with that. But in terms of like running, it's not my thing. I just don't do it because I don't enjoy it. So focusing on the way movement feels as opposed to how many calories that you will burn. This can shift your focus from deciding to be in bed longer, to being excited to get up and do whatever activity you have planned. So, if you're not excited to move your body or get to that class, or do your home workout or whatnot, then start rethinking about the way you're moving. There are so many ways to move your body that just feel good. And I highly encourage you to just take a look at all the different types of activities and all the types of classes, programs within this city. There are so many people offering such a variety of things. And maybe it's as simple as just going for a walk with your dog. There's nothing like that counts. That totally counts. So really just try to find, movement that makes you feel good. And number 10, the final one, is honor your health with gentle nutrition. So choosing food that honors your health and taste buds and that make you feel good. A perfect diet does not equal healthy. You will not enter nutrient deficiency, gain weight from one snack or one meal. And I want to emphasize this, especially with Thanksgiving coming up this weekend. These one things are not going to make or break the way you look and the way you feel about yourself. So giving yourself permission to indulge and enjoy, and taking note if something that you indulged and enjoyed in didn't feel so good, maybe after or during, maybe question why you indulged to the level that you did. These are all things that go into intuitive eating to the point where one day it's just all gonna click. Trust me, it's all gonna click and you're gonna be like, oh, okay. And suddenly you won't want that extra helping of whatever it is because you don't feel like it, not because you are consciously making this decision based on the fact that you're not supposed to, which is ridiculous. On the flip side, maybe one day you decide you are going to have that extra helping of something because you're weighing the cause and the effect of that thing. So yeah, you might not feel so great if you have another helping, but you really enjoy the taste of it. So you kind of have to pick and choose what you'd like in the moment. So, what you're eating consistently over time is what makes the difference. Progress, not perfection, is what counts. So I know this sounds really hokey to a lot of people. I do find that people stumble into intuitive eating when they are ready. And if this sounds really ridiculous to you, maybe now's not the time. And that's okay. If it's something that kind of strikes your fancy, but you don't quite get it, reach out to me. Again, I'm more than happy to provide some resources to you, talk to you a little bit more in depth. I mean, I'm looking at the timer here and this video is already like an almost 18-minute video, just going over the bare basics. So I don't want to take up any more of your time. I respect your time. And I thank you so much for sticking through with it to me to the very end. So again, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, feedback, anything that I can help you on, either in terms of fitness or, intuitive eating or anything else that I can't think of right now, don't hesitate to throw a comment below. If you enjoyed any part of this video, throw me an emoji or a comment. I would love to hear from you. That's all I've got for now. So thank you so much for tuning in. And again, if you got any other questions, comments, concerns, feedback, feel free to let me know. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks so much, and namaste.